DRX could answer with a Karma. Is a distinct possibility. I do think that's a very nice pick that works well into what KT are going to do. Also,
is it just set Diana?
That is also a distinct possibility, yes. That's something that teams have been picking up more and more, taking away the other, currently within the LCK, high-ranked AP jungler in the Diana, who of course has less early pressure, but skills incredibly well. Would also not be surprising here.
Remember, things like the Lulu and the Karma are still available, but certainly have fallen out of favor recently. So Viego will be locked in. Still a theoretical flex, as is the Nocturne. 3-way for Nocturne, 2-way for Viego, or 3-way, I guess, if Canyon has a word about it, but he's not a jungler anymore, so we don't take his opinion.
He's not relevant anymore.
Yeah, no.
He can only talk about mid lane, which, by the way, stick around for that one if you want to see that. But what I like here from DRX is that they have a lot of power picks secured. If you really want to kind of try and throw a wrench into the plans, you could pick up the Diana here, because this is all setting up for a Diana pick by DRX. I think otherwise you're going to be really light on the AP, and then flex your Rumble. But that does create a little bit of awkwardness, right? Because Diana Rumble
I don't like that at all.
No,
I think that's bad.
Well, I don't think. I think it's a big risk. Yeah, I don't know if I would go as far as to call it bad. But
I get the idea.
okay.
I get the idea, right? But then it's like, now we're left with Rumble and Diana. What do we do?
Well, it's a great combo. You just have to get through the early game with Shirley against Nox and Viego. Maybe not the best plan, but thank you for pointing that out. The Ezreal gets locked in.
Doesn't the Ezreal's hair kind of look like it goes up into Set's chest plate, making Ezreal's hair look really, really long?
Yes, it does. I was just getting
trying to change the subject.
I was
for
getting
you.
ready for another roast, but I personally would love to see the Diana pick up here. I think otherwise it's going to get banned out, and of course the distinct possibility is there that we see some swaps, but no, it will indeed be the solo lanes, Nocturne and Viego, with Diana in the mid lane. And the benefit of this is that the Diana doesn't have to be as afraid. Rumble, of course, is a higher tempo jungler, and if you have no prio in your solo lanes, you can get invaded, you can fall behind. Her early dueling is not the strongest, but with Viego and Nocturne, you should be fine in the early game, and then post 6, the entire kit basically opens up, which is still really funny to me, because if you would have told, you know, a couple of years ago that Diana's ultimate and E would be switched and she would still not be strong early, we're like,
yeah,
that's weird.
It is quite strange. In fact, she used to be stronger early, back in the day. However, I guess, you know,
times change.
It certainly does. Leona, the obvious ban here, of course, synergizes so beautifully alongside the Rumble, so are going to deny that one. A couple of 80 carry bans probably to come out here from KT, as they've already got rid of the Jinx. The Lucian's theoretically gone as well, but he is a solo laner. Yeah, Karma could happen.
I think a Karma is insane for KT, because Ezreal Karma is one of those bottom lanes that
doesn't lose.
It's a nuisance to deal with. Doesn't really lose. Can put pressure on lanes. You can roam. Like you can. Yeah, there we go. Okay, very happy about that, because I don't think you want to pick it up with DRX at this point, with how far the how your comp has developed, rather, because the Karma, while adding skirmishing power, doesn't really fit into the larger strat of diving in very aggressively.
I think banning Kai'Sa here even makes sense.
Yes.
I know she's
100%.
been nerfed, but DRX are like the most dive possible right now, and extraordinarily short range. As that's Tahm Kench to be taken away. That will deny a potential Kog'Maw or something like that. We've seen these weird Kog'Maw dive comps actually work. So just trying to deny that option. Thresh is still available, of course. But I think that just going in for even more dive makes a lot of sense here. That's Aphelios. Don't know whether I like that. Kai'Sa is the obvious choice, so here it is.
And I think that if they go for Senna Kench, you might not be super happy, so the Kench bet in that regard makes sense. If they actually go for like Aphelios Kench, you're like, okay, yes, please, that makes no sense with your comp. But it is DRX, and sometimes they do weird stuff. Now, Nautilus is still available, so expect that to be picked up, unless KT want to try and pick that away. Yep. Ezreal Nautilus, not the greatest, but Nautilus is just a versatile pick in general. If you really want to be smart,
I was going to say, Braum makes a lot of sense.
Preemptively. Oh man, that'd be great. Yes, very nice, KT, because the Braum into what is basically 3.5 melee champions on the other side, and a signaled Nautilus pickup is so incredibly strong. And with the set, you still have some engage possible. Maybe
plus, Braum Ezreal is actually a pretty strong lane.
Yeah.
as well. Gives them options in the early game as well to get some invading done if they would like to.
Maybe some engage on top. Also works, you know. Just the good old Gwen for Doran. Stomp lane, stomp everything afterwards because Gwen is very, very strong.
Yep, not a lot of support coming through from the Rumble, theoretically, but I guess not a lot of magic resist going to be built up by either of these solo laners, be it the Viego or the Nocturne. But we shall see. Just some Merc Treads in the early game will be very valuable, though, as that's an eco hovered once again from Becca, but not going to happen, as that is even more dive, as we expected. The Rakan to come in. DRX have completed the set. All of the set items have been put together. No, I do not mean the champion. I mean putting together your suit of 5 pieces of armor, and then getting all of those set bonuses. And the set says, dive all day. That's what it says. And that's exactly what they're doing.
It's bingo. You know, you got the...
Viego I guess, doesn't... he does have, you know, he's got his dash and his ult. He'll be fine.
It's good
He'll be able to get in.
Close enough to theme. It's not you know, like you have this entire comp and then they go for, I don't know, Jace like makes a little bit, there's plenty of combinations that we've seen DRX pull out where we'd be scratching our heads. Not the case here. I think the Rakan pickup is also nice. Kaiser Rakan obviously not an amazing lane, but the Braum can't really punish you, and Rakan will always skill really well into the mid to late game. So it is, I think it's decent. I don't think it's great as a whole. The KT comp to me has a lot of possibilities, better synergy, and the late game is still terrifying.
Yeah.
And it's also just to play into. It's horrible. You're trying to dive into a set, into a Rumble, a Braum, with the Ezreal having so much safety. We've seen how much survivability the Gwen provides. So if you fall behind as DRX, which thus far they've done basically every single game, it's horrible to play this out. If you get ahead though, this comp is incredibly oppressive because there are so many buttons you can push to start fights on your terms, no matter what.
The problem that I have though, Mao, is when we have a look at how these two teams have been playing, KT are the most aggressive team that we have in the LCK, and DRX are the most passive. They also have the most aggressive comp that you can basically put together. It's not necessarily going to come online straight away. However, they do need to take the initiative, and I don't know whether I trust them to do so. Plus, KT have a lot of answers against the dive. So, after all is said and done, I'm putting KT at a distinct advantage to start this game off.
Agreed. And this is the LCK. We are not always the best at converting draft advantages into wins. We're also...
Are you implying yesterday's games, perhaps? A little bit.
Possibly, yeah. But I don't even... That's the crazy thing. I don't even think that was necessarily a draft diff in that T1 game, right? Because we saw when it really came down to it, Rumble just threw 20-second equalizers and Dogtown was firing arrows like Legolas, and there was nothing.
Yeah, I think the equalizer and the piercing arrow had about the same cooldown, which was probably not okay.
It was not. Also,
down to it.
Should Conqueror maybe be nerfed? Is this a conversation we should start having again?
I mean, there's only 7 out of 10.
It's not the maximum.
Yeah, it could be 10 out of 10. As Doran's having a pretty good time here, but Kingen is going to even that one out with a second round of Qs and gives him the good old thumbs up. I like it. Just some friendly top lane banter as both of these players, you know, have played against each other for quite some time now. Sulker and Dove having a good time here in this mid lane. We'll have to see how the lanes are going to shape up, right? Because especially the solos, I think the bottom lane is going to be within KT's control after things settle down a little bit in the early stage. But we'll see how that goes as well. As you can see, topside working out pretty well for Doran. And Dove just throwing haymakers around, and Set never really loses lane, does he? He just sits there and sets in the lane.
He doesn't, but I don't think he can reliably get prio against Sorka.
Yeah, it's like you don't win, but you don't lose. You just exist.
You're just kind of there, and you'll be fine, and you'll shrug off anything, and he can't really hard engage on you, because hard engaging on Set always is going to feel really bad. But as you can see, might be a creep. Maybe 2 behind if we see a deny coming through here from Sorka. That's cute, right? And that's going to kind of be the theme of the lane, where Sorka's just going to shove to make sure that Pyosik has some coverage. But Dove does need to respect, because yes, you can shrug out a lot of damage, but when it comes to the actual trading, I think the Noxian has a clear advantage with how good the Umbra Blade's passive is early on. But Sorka
potentially baiting here, as Sorka's going to run away to the bottom side of the map. That's the fear. Gets rid of Dove, but that's the flash over from Blank, and Sulker's going the wrong direction. Blank will land absolutely everything he needs to, invest the flash, but there's first blood for KT, continuing on with their hyper-aggressive playstyle.
And Blank, a beautiful diversion from his pathing there, because clearly, Soccer was expecting, okay, I still have about 20, 30 seconds, right? Generally, junglers are just going to clear their bot side, clear their top side, and get to the crab at 3:15 when that spawns. But Blank decides to instead communicate with Dove, so hey, Solkas are trading and pushing really aggressively, going to walk up. He's going to try and keep trading with me, and Pioshik is just clearing his jungle. Like, he's nowhere near that play, and you can't really expect him to be. So Solka, even though he's hovering the bot side, just kind of dies.
Yeah, really nicely played out of KT. I feel like, you know, Blank went back to some of his memories there, ganking early for mid lane. Feels like something that he has a bit of practice on. Maybe not, you know, the more recent times, but certainly in his heyday. As now continuing to look aggressively, does find Pioshik here as, okay, he's eventually going to get out. That is the QE landing though from Pioshik as he's doing a fair bit of damage. Dustbringer to come through with a bit of extra, and that should be Blank just going down, so some revenge for Solka and an overstep for Blank.
Bit of a blunder there from Blank, because after playing really nicely around his, you know, his mid laner and playing with smart pathing, he then invades without priority, which is not something you're allowed to do, and here we see exactly why. Pioshik catches him. Pioshik knows I have the immediate backup of Solka, so I can just start fighting here. There's no way that you ever win that all in as Blank. No reason. You had a lead, you know, you gave a kill, or rather you picked up a kill yourself, and you can just clear, and you will generally outtempo the Diana. Like, Rumble's clear is really, really good. Diana takes a little bit more to really get up to speed, but now you have wasted a ton of time. You've given over a free kill to the Diana. Not a good look here. This was great, though.
Yeah. Blank giveth, Blank taketh away, I guess. And also, remember, invested his flash for this moment, and then just decided to invade. So, is another reason why it was maybe not the most optimal.
It's even more egregious. Here, his Grump is up as well. There's no reason for you to do this. And he gets spotted, and he knows. It's just greedy, and
also, like, I mean, there was lane priority in both solo lanes, and he's deciding to invade via top river. Look, I'm just not sure. Yeah.
Was a bit of an oopsie, because
that might have been, he was committed to the caster curse, you know? I was talking about how good the gank timing was.
Yep.
And he just needed to make sure that I looked as silly as possible. So I appreciate that, Blank. I like the commitment to the troll. As KT still have a slight advantage. And Rumble, of course, is, you know, never really going to be too worried about suffering a death in the early stages. However, Pioshik going to be very, very happy with the fact that he managed to grab a kill for himself as Dove. He's just doing what he can here. Dove moving towards the top side of the map as Blank's going to come in once again. He's pretty good at being in this exact position, as Solka is going to be able to utilize the spell shield on the second harpoon. This time, does suffer half of his health bar in damage, and now Blank once again moves over. This time Dove has priority though, so Blank corrects the mistake and then does the same thing. I like, you know, maybe wasn't the perfect timing for it, but I like the fact that he's committed.
Makes the same play, but now good. That's what we like to see. And also, while that was happening, if you paid attention to Miniap, Harp walking in from base, and this is what the Ezreal allows you to do. Standing on the wall here right now, so the moment I want to praise him, it's just gonna, like, he's gonna get the shove, and that's, or secure the shove, right, and that's basically gonna be it.
But still allows Blank to do this, right? Like, this is now forcing that priority that we were talking about, and this is the thumbs up version of that play. So that's now 2 in a row, theoretically, heading towards the enemy jungle topside.
Yeah, but I think Pioshik got that because he hit 6, so I think he was the one who actually got the big raps, and now Becca also joining the fray. And I like the initial play from Harp to make sure that, because as support, walking straight back to turret doesn't really do anything, especially when you have an Ezreal with both summoners that is so incredibly resilient to ganks, dives, and whatnot. But then sticking around, I think, isn't really necessary. I much rather would like to have seen him go, and he's still sticking around here, and that's actually going to delay his level 6 spike considerably. And personally, I would like to KT to try and look for these early Drakes. You don't really need to, but with a set and a Rumble, you always can, right? I think you should always threaten, and if you do see an opening, you can definitely go in.
Yep. As we see, Harp makes his way back down towards the bottom side, right as Noah is getting here. Does explain why he was hanging around in the jungle for a little while. Didn't have anyone to support, so why head down towards bot lane, I guess, was his line of thinking. Needs to find a few more of these Winter's Bites if he wants to have any impact. However, get your eye in the early game and then land them late game where it's really important. I like that.
It's the unfortunate reality of this bot lane is that it's not expected to really be interactive. And even if you hit the Winter's Bite, it's like, I got poked on Guardian Rakan.
Yeah.
Nice.
Feels
That'll...
Why doesn't he have Conqueror?
I don't know.
Like everybody else.
Yeah, I think it's a bit off theme as a whole. You know, if you're committing to the skirmish, you might as well get your Rakan to join them as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Build some AP.
It's very disappointing.
Yeah, it's a lack of cohesion, and that's something that, you know, we'd like to see from DRX.
Dove just didn't even want the cannon. That's how committed he was to helping Blank.
What a team player.
Whoa. That's very impressive. Becker and Solka will move on over here as Pyosik in the area as well. 80 carries fighting here on the bottom side of the map as Killer Instinct from Bao gets him in there. But now the engage. Grand entrance is fantastic as there's the equalizer that at least does go down. But this is a bloodbath. Pyosik looking to try and escape here as Kingen. Not going to be so lucky. Dove, does he have it? Yes, he does. He's going to get a whole bunch of his health back and Becker will fall as well. So the first blow was landed by DRX, but it did not really work.
Fortunately for DRX, they were able to pick up the Herald, because otherwise that play is just a disaster. Set picking up a bunch of kills, and here we see the threat that this composition provides, and why it's so frustrating, even this early on, to play into the Braum, because he's able to stack his passive on multiple people really easily. And from there on out, you know, you have the equalizer. Solka immediately has to get out of there once the passive gets on top of him. Gwen is Gwen.
Yep.
I think that really suffices. And another problem is that Viego, yet again, not really getting off the chain of resets that you're looking for, right? Because how tanky the set is.
And also, was that double triumph that Dove got as well? That's
Yeah.
really, really gross.
And he's sad, right? He's picked grid, so it's just everything about that feels bad. And it's one of the reasons why I think the set has been getting higher and higher in priority. The champion in these early skirmishes that more and more dictate how the mid and early, and even late game in some cases, goes, is just so hard to play into, especially when combined with a rumble.
Yeah, no, exactly. Dove having a great time. 2-0-2 now, ahead by quite a bit of farm at the same time, so you could imagine that a lot of that gold lead will be sitting in that mid lane. Set doesn't necessarily use gold phenomenally well, but we've seen some of these haymakers in the later stages of the game, so maybe I'll be eating those words. See how Dove is going to be able to utilize this, as we do have just some clearing of waves. And it is going to be Ocean Drake that is going to start us off here today. But it's 11 minutes in, and we still haven't seen it really looked at by anyone. A lot of vision, though, for DRX here on the bottom side, as KT with a bit of priority on the bottom side of the map. Becker also holding on to the Rift Herald, which is kind of cute.
Pyosik also wouldn't be Pyosik if he didn't go for a weird build. He didn't pick a weird champion, but you know, you gotta get some of that trademark personality in there.
Yeah, we've seen a bit of this, the Nash's first Diana.
Yeah, I don't think it's something that we've never seen, but I do feel like generally it's a bit less consistent, especially with a composition like this, where I think the Nash's Tooth really helps in terms of 1v1, but the Proto Belt makes your engages much more reliable, and it's easier for follow-up, right? Just get in there, hit the Moonfall, and then you can get your Rakan in, then the Umbra Blades up Nocturne with Strybreaker can come in. But this does give him a lot of dueling power, especially when combined with that Conqueror. And it's something that Pyosik really, really likes. He does something similar on the Kindred as they're getting started up here.
Yeah, remember DRX did invest a lot of vision into this area, and they're still going to lose out on the Drake. At least they do still have that Herald sitting on Becker. However, it is going to be wearing off relatively soon. Becker going home for the moment, going to utilize that empowered recall, but is going to have to use it relatively soon, as that's a true shot barrage just being thrown through, as he does manage to get one of those little Krugs. I like it, but wanted to steal a red buff if he could. But still, good scouting, as Riftmaker is going to be completed here for Doran. He's going to be able to grab the first mythic of the game. I imagine Dove will be pretty close to his as well, but he's just been hanging out in that lane for quite some time, still continuing to have that quite large lead. It's just feeling like slowly but surely KT are winning the game, as Becker is going to move topside, try and give that money over to Kingen. I actually like this idea, so that he can have as much ability to deal with Doran as possible. He's going to be able to grab a couple of these plates, as we can see. Shelly. That was actually really nifty of her. Turns around right in the nick of time. Trolls Doran a little bit, but he is still going to be able to take her down comfortably. Not a worry there whatsoever. 500 gold here is the lead. And DRX, we mentioned the fact that they have a comp where they have the initiative. However, they still needed to reach some breakpoints before it's really going to work. So let's see whether they can make the next one stick a little bit better than the last skirmish.
The benefit of this composition by DRX, and I also think that the Nashus kind of fits within that theme, is that you have the ability to go for a 1-for-1 and just stay away from KT's absurd team fighting, right? Because I think the Gwen might be a little bit of a problem. I don't actually know. I think the Viego will be relatively fine 2-3 items in and then at some point get outskilled. Pioshik might be fine. Same can be said for Solka. Although I don't think anyone outduels Gwen. I think the champion at the moment is just a little bit absurd. So that's a problem. But your other side lane into the set, generally most of them should be fine. And that does mean that as DRX, with the Nocturne, able to rotate from lane to lane with the killer instinct from the Kai'Sa, you can try and just pull apart this composition from KT. If things in the mid to early don't really go the way you're expecting, or hoping rather, which currently looks to be the case. So it's not the end of the world for DRX if they were on form. But with the current form, I don't know if they can pull it off, right, Atlas? Because what I'm talking about is executing a nice 1-3-1, setting up your side lanes well, collapsing with Killer Instinct and Paranoia.
I think it's really, really hard, because I actually think that KT wins in side lanes, like you were talking about. The Gwen is just a little bit too strong in that department. Unless Kingen builds entirely for that sort of playstyle, but then you're going to lose out when it comes to team fighting, which is where KT's also better than you at. So it sort of goes back to what we were talking about earlier on, right? It's just KT finding themselves a draft that really does suit their situation and also gives them a lot of different outs. When we talk about good drafting, I think flexibility and win condition is one of the things, the forefront in my mind, meaning that KT certainly has a lot more options when it comes to this game continuing. However, all sorts of crazy things can happen, and DRX still have a lot of diving buttons. So let's see whether they can use them all in conjunction with one another, and then find themselves a few back-to-back team fights. Because like you say, this comp, it certainly does manage to snowball if it can get there, right? Because as soon as you can dive in and just instantly kill someone, then they've got all of their go buttons and they just press them when they can. Paranoia comes off cooldown, you kill someone, and then, you go from there. But that is not the case right now, and the current state of the game means that KT are in a bit of control as Shirley has spawned, and it looks like KT are going to start it up.
It's so hard to do into the KT comp, right? And that's why I'm talking about the 1-for-1, because if KT play it well, and if Harp and Dove are at the ready with their fingers and the Unbreakable and the Showstopper and the Glacial Fissure, there's just not that much you can do because the disengage is so strong.
And also the counter engage from an Equalizer is just ridiculous. Not to mention the fact that Doran can be there to try and get a bit of damage down. Ahsoka's going to go in. There it is. That's the Equalizer down, but we've got fights on multiple fronts. That Facebreaker was amazing out of Dove as Pioshik goes in, goes golden, but there's no follow-up whatsoever. This is kind of what we were talking about, right? As Kingan's going to walk away, gives them the thumbs up, congratulates them for their team fight, and KT will back away. Not too much is going to change here, theoretically, because it's only one kill, but this time the Herald did go to KT.
And Harp, at the very end of the team fight, he went for the play you would have wanted him to go for, which was flash forward and then not actually find anyone, just to try and get a kill, but as you pointed out, this is exactly, in a nutshell, why we're worried about the DRX composition, is because actually pulling it off in team fights seems basically impossible. As, look at this, like, you try to go in, but immediately they back off, the Equalizer goes down, you can't really fight, Harp is going to CC and slow you down, Pioshik doesn't have the items yet for his Moonfall to actually be relevant, and Kingan's just standing there because he's a Viego, no one is dying. So you're not getting any resets, you're not getting your Heartbreakers off, you're not getting any sustain, and then you're just kind of standing there.
Yep, well, Becker is also doing a bit of scouting here, as we can see. That Winter's Bite will connect, as KT are thinking about starting off this Cloud Drake. Not going to be a Cloud Soul today. I have been, Cloud Atlas for quite a bit of my career. But so far this season, it has not been the case. Just being denied Cloud Souls left, right, and center. It's very unfortunate.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I'm neither here nor there. Change is difficult. I do have to now learn what the other Drakes do. because
never has been an issue for you.
Yeah, I mean, the Souls, I just had to learn Cloud, right? And then I was done. And in my solo queue games, I just kind of ignore it, and you know, things happen.
As you do.
Yeah.
Solo queue.
But now I need to understand what the rest of them do. So it's going to be a confusing time for me. So we'll see whether I can figure out Infernal Soul. Pretty sure it gives you some damage and some AoE once you manage to stack up at least 4 Drakes. But I'll get back to you there. Is that what it is? Can you give me a rundown on what Infernal Soul does? This is definitely the one that I didn't get last season.
No, you never did. Well, I think you put it quite succinctly in that it just amps up your damage to an insane amount, and in cases of champions like Ezreal that have both magic damage and AD damage indicators, even better because it gives you both, right? So you kind of double dip on the amount of damage it provides, and then if you do get the actual soul, your abilities get a really cool explosion as well in adjunction to all the damage that you'll get. Wow. And generally, it is more useful than Cloud Soul, as we have been known to joke about. Although I think Cloud Soul gets kind of a bad rap, and we joke about it a lot because it's, you know, it's crazy how many you've got.
Yeah, the reason we were joking about it, I guess, is just more based on the frequency. You're exactly right. However, explosions of damage on top of more damage sounds better than ultimate cooldown on top of some movement speed after an ultimate.
You also get general movement speed, okay? And that's really good. Like, I actually think that might be the kicker. And I think Cloud Soul is an interesting one where if you're able to stack up like 3 Cloud Drakes, it actually does a lot more because of how good the ultimate CDR becomes, especially on champions like Rumble. We've been talking a lot about how it feels very unfair, and at this point, if you see an Equalizer go down on a minion wave, you should not be surprised anymore because it really is such a short cooldown. Now,
we talk about non-committal CC as well, and I think at that point, the Rumble turns into like his ultimate is non-committal CC. You just throw out an Equalizer fishing for people, see whether you can one-shot them.
It's the best CC, right?
I mean, that's what Peanut was doing yesterday. Yeah? His Equalizer was hitting for an incredible amount. But we digress. The reason we're talking about all of this weird stuff is because nothing's really happening on the map, guys. DRX are doing some DRX things at this point in time and really slowing this one down. As you can't really blame them because every time they've started a fight, KT have had all of the answers. This combo of Equalizer, Glacial Fissure is just working out as it always has done over the eons of League of Legends, right? Like, it's just been... Braum Rumble has been a thing for quite a while, and it's working out very, very well here, as we can see.
There's been so many iterations as well. It's just Rumble loves setup. You pointed out the Leona and Champ Select. We have the set.
Make people stop on Equalizer, please.
Easy peasy. My personal favorite, honestly, was the Kiana. I think Kiana Rumble was like... that one's so the most fun.
Kiana Rumble Nah is just my favorite.
If you really want to get feisty, Jarvan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
The more you think about it, you're like, oh.
Now, I mean, that's an oldie, but it is a goodie. That was when Rumble wasn't a jungler.
No, but Rumble and Kiana and Jarvan, you know, like throw them all in there.
Yeah, I feel like you don't get enough value out of the I guess you can put the ult inside the Cataclysm, but it is a very, very small Kiana ult. You know? But I feel like you're not getting enough value there.
But it's fun.
That is true.
And
that is definitely
if they're in there, you blow them up.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a very versatile combo.
No, I don't know.
I'd personally say. But
it is very fun, though.
You know what's not fun? Is being DRX in this game.
Yeah, I feel like it is certainly, they're starting to feel the issues of their composition. And the problem is, the reason why we're hitting the ultimate lull state right now is that it's DRX that has to do stuff, and KT will they'll win more as the game goes. So they may as well just play pacifist League of Legends until they feel like taking their opponent down.
I actually love the itemization here from Kingen, going for the Wit's End. Like, into Gwen and Rumble, it makes a lot of sense. And I do think that this is DRX kind of saying, you know what, maybe split pushing is the way. And I think that's a good realization. I think split pushing is really hard, but I think team fighting is basically impossible in this comp. So by building the Wit's End, you're basically saying, I am just going to try and one-on-one the Gwen. Is that going to be enough? As I said, I feel like right now Kingen might actually be able to win that 1v1 and have some pressure in there. I think as more and more items come through, that Doran is still going to have the better end of that matchup, especially considering he has the Ignite available. Plus, as we already pointed out, just the state of Gwen in general at the moment, but...
Plus Zhonya's and Steel Caps, right? He's feeling pretty set up for the AD matchup in a side lane as well, which is, of course, exactly what he wants to do, as both side laners are AD.
The bigger problem with the split pushing idea of playing on this game is the fact that KT is about to head to a soul point.
Yeah, it's this lizard. This lizard certainly is providing some issues. But DRX, okay, there's the quickness. Becca yet to go in as there's the paranoia. A little bit late on that one as Solka has no backup. Once again, Dub gets into the backline and that was an equalizer out of blank. However, some kills being traded back as Bao gets over the wall. But now he can't auto-attack anymore. Doran's getting stuns off all over the place. Dives in on top of Bao though, and that is not exactly what he wants. Goes down extraordinarily low. We'll see whether he gets away, and obviously he is going to, as now Dove has found Bao. One more and he'll get the stun, but no, he's just going to use the haymaker for that one. Harp barely survives as Kingin. Can he get this one done by himself? And the answer is absolutely not, as KT will be able to disengage with Soul Point on top of them. Kingin's still looking for a little bit more here, but I don't know whether he's going to be able to do it. Dove is still just wandering around the area. And he's going to be able to take down the turret in the mid lane. So KT once again walk away with a victory.
And it's a rough one for DRX. If you go for that, if you go in that hard, I much rather would like to see you pull the trigger just a little bit earlier, teleport like 5 seconds so you have a chance for the flip. Instead, the nice zoning by KT here on that top part of the river means that Solka basically has to go in by himself. Is able to draw out a lot here. The Glacial Fissure in particular doesn't really get anything done, but then this equalizer in the middle of this team fight combined with the passive stacking from Rom makes it really hard to get anything done. And then it is really just the skirmishing power and sustain of Viego that makes this fight look even remotely close. Doran goes in very, very happily, but without a bomb, he most certainly would have died there.
I like the big snip pose. That was actually really cool with his stopwatch.
It's like Sek, right?
Yeah,
where it's like mid-blob.
Yeah. I think Doran should probably get POG for that. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm aboard.
All right, nice. Is it okay to give POG to Set anymore? I feel like he's getting a Kali treatment on that front, as now he's going to get feared, running away from Solka here, but instead he wants to start a fight. That is going to be a disengage paranoia, and that is 100% not what you want if you're a DRX fan. As in goes Doran, that's a great quickness though, as Noah's on the back line. Let's see whether they can get anything done as Pioshik in a bit of trouble. There's the stun, a double kill for the Set though, and the Ezreal in the meantime is untouched. Kingin is going to be able to find himself the ability to use some Set moves, but I don't know whether it's going to be enough, as he has to go back to being Viego now, and that is going to be the ace for KT, and should mean the Baron, as Blank is available and Noah's there with some DPS, but there are some low death timers. I don't know whether they are going to go for it, but no, Noah's going to say, yep, this one's ours.
And as DRX, as you pointed out, the defensive paranoia is never how you want to start the fight. Once the teleport comes in, DRX realizes we need to get out of here. And it's looking okay, and here you see why the Diana is picked when they go for the re-engage here in an attempt to salvage the situation. The Moonfall is great, but at this point you're already kind of behind. Your team doesn't excel at fighting in these close quarters, whereas both Blank and Dove are so happy to just draw attention, just stand there, tank as much while still doing a lot of AoE damage, and then Noah is not even touching the entire fight. And I think at this point he's already like 2-item Ezreal, and that is already a big nuisance. Has now, of course, his 3rd item with the Frozen Arc and Blade. I just feel bad for King, because I feel like he's playing these fights and these skirmishes so well, but it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, and the thing that sucks, right, is the fact that KT have like 4 anti-melee champions and an Ezreal.
Yeah.
Against a dive comp of melee champions.
Yes. Well, hey, Kai'Sa has some range, okay? It's not a lot, but it's like half range.
I didn't see much of it in the last team fight, I'm not going to lie. As Facebreaker comes through here, that's a heartbreaker. So Kingin's going to get to where he wanted to go, but unfortunately it wasn't actually where he wanted to go. Dove just beats the heck out of him. 7-1-7 on the set. He's got all of his HP scaling. Chronicle has already written down the POG vote, going straight for the man in that mid lane. Oh my goodness! This is certainly showing us the power of the set, and somewhere there's a Valdez saying, "Oh God, why isn't the priority high enough?"
I mean, it's not wrong.
Yeah, well, Solka, he's also going to get burnt down. Dove goes on in there. He's immortal, remember. He's set. That's one of Set's abilities. Never die, I think. He died once, I guess, in this game, so that is not entirely true. However, it feels a little bit like that this game.
And we are now kind of faced with the age-old question: do we vote for who we think deserves POG or who we know gets it? Because you know Dove is going to get it, but he's playing Set. Yoshi, though, is in a flanking position here. All or nothing for DRX.
He's biding his time, but unfortunately, he might wait long enough for the Nexus turrets to go down. 2 inhibitors just taken without too much response for DRX, and Pyosik slinks back into the forest. Just wasn't really what they were looking for. He does get his own blue buff, so I guess there's that, but now it's Infernal Soul time as Kingan's been caught out of position. Heartbreaker going to be used to escape. And the more of these buttons that are utilized in defense, the less tools DRX has to stop this from just going over to KT for free. KT looking for a potential turn as there's the Moonfall to go in. Okay, equalizes down, lots of AoE happening here as Harp will fall down. Noah off to the side, not exactly getting too much work done, as now the front line is trying to make it happen, and Dove, he's just unkillable. It's a triple kill for the Set. And it looks like we're not going to need an Infernal Soul. It looks like this game is just over.
And we see the remnants of the magic of DRX, Atlas. I think in Spring, that's the kind of engage they find where they turn the entire game around. But that doesn't work here anymore. You can't fall this far behind and then try and salvage it with a single good play. Teams in the LCK need to learn.
I mean, who's going to win? An entire dive comp, or one guy beating the heck out of a Nexus right here? Dove is going to be able to finish this one off. KT, it felt like they had it from draft to the Nexus falling, and looked really good while they did it. There were some moments for DRX, but unfortunately, just wasn't quite enough. And we'll see whether DRX can turn it around moving into a game number 2, because these games are difficult, right? But when it is so hard for your comp to win, maybe it feels a little bit less bad on the morale. It's not like, you know, winning these extraordinarily close 70-minute games and then trying to turn around the mental. It is a little bit more like, well, that was a bit of an error. Let's go back to the drawing board, see whether we can make it work next time around.
And I'm just pleasantly surprised by what KT pull out here, because I think when we think about KT, it's not necessarily drafting well into what your opponent is doing. It's not necessarily about the whole team playing really well together in skirmishes and team fights, but this is the newer KT that are just looking a lot better. I don't think their score at the moment is amazing, but there is a reason why we kind of collectively feel the team should be a little higher than where they're at right now. Right? I think that place number 5, number 6 make a lot of sense for them. A strong middle of the pack team with team fight performances like we saw there from Dove and from Doran that can really elevate them to those top spots.
Yeah, and I don't think that KT necessarily has those glaring weaknesses that we see in some of our other teams, right? Like, you look at Humble Life Esports and you're like, oh, the jungle top side of the map really is a bit of a problem here. Hopefully they can fix it. You look at KT, this is a team that are just coming together over time. And once that synergy gets built up,